You did it, PC.
Well, I did it.
It's since the first time that Chad sent me that, it always just gets my heart rate up. It's a good music selection. I think it gets me excited.
Kelly and I didn't make the trailer though. Dang.
I know.
I think it was before we had. I think it was before we had gotten anyone else for it, and then they'd already published it, and I don't think they ever edited it again.
At least we're on the picture.
Yes, Chad's been working on the picture, poster, whatever. I'm not exactly sure where they are in the process, but all of that is Chad Mueller, the video and the poster that you guys have seen. Yeah, this one that's up there. And we got a Reps Ahead this week, Saturday in Denver, or outside of Denver, Thornton, Colorado. There's 6 total matches going on. We're going to have the athletes from 4 of those matches on the show throughout the week. And I can't remember who we're ending with. Oh, yeah, we're starting and ending with the women, just as it should be. And then some guys in the middle that probably no one really cares about. We have Kyra Milligan in the bottom right there and Kelly Stone on the left. Thank you guys for joining us today. And also thanks for just being willing to, participate in Reps Ahead. I'm kind of curious because it's, Reps Ahead, I guess, as a competition format or whatever is, gaining some traction, I would say. Do you remember the first time that you saw Reps Ahead or heard about Reps Ahead anywhere? Either one of you?
Yeah, I remember I was watching it. It was the one that Alexis versus Fee, and it was a lot of fun because I just turned it on while I was doing one of my C2 intervals. I was like, ooh, this looks like it would be fun to do, but also very, very painful. So now I'm going to be put in that position.
Yeah, I remember actually hearing about it before it really existed because Cooper Wise, who was on CrossFit Omnia's team last year, the past few years, he told us one Saturday, he's like, yeah, I'm going to do this workout thing. And we're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, it's like head-to-head competitions, but they were just doing testing at that point. So it was before it even came about. And I thought it was the strangest thing. And then now that I've seen kind of how far it's come, really cool to see that kind of whole idea come to fruition. But I'm with Kyra when I've watched some of those and then practicing the workout. It is interesting and
I literally cannot get myself to do more than 2 intervals of it. I'm like, hopefully somebody wins there.
I did a full 5 rounds. For our entire comp group. We had one person crying. I don't think I've been that workout in a very long time. So I'm with you. I hope it doesn't go more than a couple rounds.
Well, Kelly, I'm not surprised that you had heard of it a little bit earlier on because although this is advertised as Pro 3, the 3rd version for the pros, I think it's either the 11th or 12th total Reps Ahead kind of event that Phil has put on. But the rest of them have been more of like you described, kind of a testing sequence with local athletes. Now, some of those local athletes are very good. Cooper Wise obviously is very good. And even this weekend, we'll have a couple local athletes that are, 200, 300, 400 placing in quarterfinals that will compete. And we had the same thing at the one that you guys were talking about with Alexis and Fee, which is kind of cool because you get to see kind of a crescendoing of the level of athlete. Everyone's doing the same workout. So you see athletes that are really good in quarterfinals, athletes that are semifinal or fringe games level. And then you have, I guess, as far as, the CrossFit Games season goes, Paige Powers, who's, placed top 10 at the CrossFit Games. And so we'll see how it goes. But what we saw in the last one is every match takes on its own kind of DNA, so to speak. So anyway, if you're local to the Denver area, you've probably seen and heard about this in a little bit different capacity than Kelly has than some of the rest of us. Otherwise, if you don't know what it is, like Kyra was saying, checking out the Pro 2 that Alexis and Fee and Dallin and James did a couple months ago down in Jacksonville will give you a good sample of what Reps Ahead looks like, but it's also, this one's going to be quite different. Phil was not that happy with the sequence is what he calls it last time, and that they all went the full distance basically. And as you guys have been talking about, he's not expecting this one to go 5 rounds. And I'm hopeful for your sake that it doesn't go five rounds.
Don't do it.
So the other kind of a nuance of this competition this time is the name redemption. And this season in particular has been somewhat of a strange one. Things that happen every year in the CrossFit Games season have been happening with athletes not advancing to certain stages of competition for a variety of reasons. And obviously at the quarterfinal stage this year, there were several big name athletes that missed out on an opportunity to compete at the semifinal, and therefore potentially earn a trip to the games or back to the games. Kelly, you've been competing. How long have you been competing in CrossFit?
I started in 2016 and then went to the games for the first time on a team in 17. So I've kind of flip-flopped back and forth between team, individual, team, back to individual, and here we are.
And that was the plan this year, was to go back to individual.
Yes. We had a phase of the season where I thought we were actually going to be going team, and we had a late pullout. So it was an up and down season in terms of expectations. And so, yeah, I wouldn't plan the entire year, but at least from about January on, that was the plan.
And so, you go through the open and quarterfinals with that in mind. And then, obviously the quarterfinals, what happens, and the season just kind of abruptly ends earlier than you expected. People know that this has happened to several athletes, several well-known athletes like yourself, but I haven't heard too many of them speak publicly about it. What was that process like for you? Was it difficult to rationalize with, and where did you kind of go from there, maybe mentally?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, like it was devastating for me. Number one, I pride myself on moving well. And if you would have asked me, even after I submitted videos, was there any part of me that thought that I wouldn't have videos kind of go through with, if you thought I'd have any chance of having a major penalty, and I would have said 100% no, and I still stand by that. But beyond that, I think this one just hurt a lot because I've intended that to be my last season. And so now I kind of just feel like I'm in this like limbo land of trying to decide if I push past that to continue, even though that was a decision I made prior to this season. And so, yeah, it's been an emotional roller coaster, and I feel like I'm kind of in the thick of it, just trying to find a new balance, find a way to train right now where I can be happy and enjoy the process, and then just kind of sit in my feelings and see where that leads me, I guess.
Were you surprised at all when Phil reached out about reps ahead?
I wouldn't say I was surprised. We had actually talked originally, I think what ended up becoming the FEE Alexis, that Pro 2 series, they had played around with having that, I believe, in another state a little bit earlier in the season. That would have been around the open time. And just with the back and forth, it seemed it was going to be a little too much to be traveling and trying to do the open and work full time. So when he had reached out again later and then kind of explained, wanting to give us an opportunity for those of us who weren't able to finish our season, I was really grateful for that and happy that he reached out.
And this season has actually been quite the opposite for you, Kyra. After going team last year, which I think was a good experience.
Oh, for sure.
You guys had a top 10 finish at the games, and you and I, Patrick, we've spoken about that process last year. You decide to come back, throw your name in the individual ring, and at this point, everyone knows that you've qualified as an individual for the CrossFit Games. Before we talk about anything with the reps ahead, just because I haven't really talked to you since that day, how has it been since then?
Oh, it's been good. It's been really, really exciting to be able to actually train for something. And I feel bad talking about this right now, Kelly, because unfortunately with what happened, but it is always nice to have something on the calendar to train for, whether that's the games or finding another off-season competition. I don't know of another off-season comp I would have wanted to do right now. So it's nice to, have the games, push through it, and just do what I can do out there and have fun for my rookie year. I'm super excited about it though.
When Phil and Michael decide that they're going to do a reps ahead match, he likes to act very quickly. He's like, okay, we got a date, we got a location, let's get the athletes, let's get the sequence, let's get things moving. And we're in the middle of semifinals. I'm in France, then I'm going to the West Coast, and he's like, we gotta get athletes. And I'm like, we don't know who's gonna make the games yet or not. He's like, it's all right. Tell me some athletes you'd like to see. And so I we had kind of brainstormed and we came up with this matchup as a potentially pretty fun matchup. Obviously, and at that point, we didn't know if you would make the games or not, Kyra. And I think that most people who have a good kind of grasp on the talent in the West Coast thought that there was definitely a chance you would get one of the last 2 or 3 spots in, but it was just as likely that you could be one of the first 2 or 3 athletes
sure.
out. What was the timing of when he asked you compared to the semifinal to do this?
I think he asked me a week before the semifinal. We hopped on a call. I agreed to do it. And then like he texted me, congratulations. He's like, hey, if you need to back out, it's okay. I was like, oh, absolutely not. I was like, as long as I can still train when I'm out there, I'm happy to do this as my disgusting Metcon for the day.
Yeah. And I'm actually glad that you said that, because for me, I'm always interested in trying to create opportunities for athletes, but I also am, sympathetic and empathetic to the fact that you guys are preparing for certain things and you're training and you have these cycles. And when I went to Jacksonville, and after watching what had happened the day before and during the competition day, I asked, Alexis, Dallin, James, Fee, these games caliber athletes, who are technically in the middle of game season, right? I think it was right after the quarterfinals, maybe. And they said that it didn't interrupt very much for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched them train on Friday, normal training day. I did 10% of what they did.
Well, you're welcome to hop into my training. Keeper actually asked me this morning. He's like, can we keep it pretty normal? Like, I think I land at like 7 Friday, and then we were going to do 2 sessions, work out a little bit in the
7
morning.
a.m.?
7 a.m. I leave here at 6 a.m. Really excited. So 2 sessions Friday, train in the morning Saturday, just like a cardio session, and then do the workout that afternoon.
Yeah, and they did something similar. I think we had the competitive block a little earlier in the day.
Yeah.
But like even while the undercards were going, the pros were lifting. They were doing like their lifting for the day to just kind of prime themselves. And then, like you said, they hit the Metcon. And then an hour later, after kind of everything wound down and people left, they were doing accessory work. So they were able to just fit it into their day. And that was when I was like, oh, this actually has some serious potential, because you're talking about Alexis Raptis and Dallin Pepper, 2 people who were in the top 10 at the games last year. They both just did this and are coming off of it and saying, yeah, we would do it again. It didn't like, plus the sequence is known. It's not like it's a random workout, so you don't know what movements to do in the week leading up to it. So that was really encouraging to me and nice to hear you say. And also cool that I didn't know that Phil gave you the option to like bow out, but I'm not surprised based on.
Oh, yeah. He even said if I wanted to, like an hour before, he's like, if it interferes at all, like I'll have somebody on like ready to go, ready to take your spot. It's like, I promise I will be there. I will do it.
And he does actually. He has like talked to some people locally.
Yeah.
They haven't qualified for the CrossFit Games, but in the case that they needed to step in.
Yeah. No, sorry, they will not be taking my spot. I'm way too excited to go head to head with Kelly.
Well, the other kind of nuance of these of the reps ahead is that you guys do these videos, leading up to the match, and the guys have been a little bit aggressive towards each other. Did you watch James and Nick's videos, Kelly?
I watched James and I texted him. I said, I need help. I don't know how to trash talk. And he said, I believe in you. I was like, okay.
What great advice.
The most classic James Sprague answer. Of course, like just pure positivity, but not really helping in any way.
Not at all. So we were nice. Nobody has ever once said anything bad about Kelly. So I was like, I have nothing to work off of.
No, and I think this similar thing happened in the last one, where like Fia and Alexis were super nice to each other leading into it. No real trash talk. And of course, James and Dallin have known each other for a long time, so it's a little bit different.
Oh, for sure.
And
creativity that both him and Nick came out with. So
I did. It was a lot of fun to watch.
I personally am excited that Nick's involved, because I haven't had much opportunity to talk to him and kind of see his personality. And I think that's, hopefully with these conversations beforehand and some of those videos, that's an added bonus aside from getting to do the competition, is that people get to learn about you guys as people a little bit, which I think only adds to the the drama of the day, but also like you'll probably gain some fans as a result of doing this who didn't maybe like they're like, oh, the CrossFit's the CrossFit, but now I know this about Kyra and now I wanted to do even better at the games type of thing.
Hopefully.
If
When do
there
you
are,
guys get in?
I think Patrick's coming in early.
Thursday.
I get in Friday afternoon. I think I'm one of the last ones to arrive, actually.
Oh, heck yeah. Kiefer gets in Friday afternoon too.
Oh, nice. I'll check in with him and see what time he's is he driving? No, he's flying.
No,
He
he's
has to
flying.
fly.
Kelly, how far is MBS from you?
It's about 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, close
Oh, that's
by.
nice.
Yeah.
Home field advantage.
Yep.
One of my best friends from my childhood actually used to own that gym. It used to be CrossFit Thornton, and then was bought MBS. But when I made that realization, I was like, so funny. I've been there a few times, so that'd be cool.
Well, even more advantage.
I think even if you look it up online, I'm not sure if they've actually changed the name for it yet, but they are going to reconfigure the rig for the match. I think Phil was in there yesterday doing that to kind of set it up for a stage. And my understanding, according to Phil, is that there's going to be a pretty good crowd on hand. You haven't gone to any of those other matches, Kelly, like the one that Cooper went to?
Haven't. So, I mean, I think because it kind of originated in the Colorado space, I would guess that there's going to be quite a few people that show up. I'm interested to see. It's not a huge gym, so how that works out logistically, but I'm sure we'll make it work and it'll be fun.
Yeah, Phil and I were talking about that, and he thinks it's going to get crowded in there, but they've also been kind of clever in terms of how they configured like I said, they moved the rig around and how they've planned it out so that you guys have a private area to warm up and to be in that's away from people. And then, they'll all be obviously surrounding the ring is what he calls the competition floor. Prior to watching, I guess, the one that happened in March, had you ever thought about a one-on-one style CrossFit competition, Kyra?
I actually did a one-on-one CrossFit competition, I think like a month after I made my first semis down in St. George, Utah. And it was fun. Like they had the lights, the fog machines, like a huge crowd. It was so much fun, actually.
Did you win though?
I did.
Oh, okay.
There's burpee ring muscle ups, heavy squat cleans, and something else, and maybe pistols. So it was like a great workout for me.
Yeah.
Isn't what was the thing called that Wad Zombie and Hiller and I did, Patrick, with Colton and Scott Tetlow? Didn't it have burpee ring muscle ups and squat cleans in it also?
I believe so. There was burpee.
Fit Wars.
Yeah, Fit Wars. That's what it was. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. I can't
do you
remember the name of it.
Do you remember who you competed against?
It was another girl from Utah. Her name was Katrina Rasmussen.
And there was no it wasn't like a tournament or a bracket style. It was just you competed against her, one of you won, and that was it?
I think it was I actually can't remember. I think it was also like a pro series, and it was just more so for people in Utah, if I remember right.
Kelly, do you have any secret one-on-one CrossFit competitions in your background?
No, I don't think so. And it's funny because when I think about how I've evolved as an athlete, I feel like I've worked so hard to find that line of staying in my own lane and not gauging my pacing off of other competitors. Case that it's you obviously need to be aware you're getting up to the end of an event. Okay, you can game that last few seconds or that last round. So, but I can't say that I've ever experienced other than the closest thing I would say is the Titan Games, the show I was on with Margot Alvarez, where I was head to head, but obviously CrossFit.
Yeah, and in terms of the rest of us, you watch an open announcement. I guess that's kind of like a one-on-one format, but the stakes are a little bit different. Yes, I guess it's a winner and loser, but in reality, probably all the athletes you're watching there are just sort of doing it as a formality to move on to the next stage. And there's not necessarily in the open announcements. I don't think they're competing for any cash prizes or anything like that. They might get paid to do it, but they're not it's not like the winner gets anything additional. Whereas the reps ahead, there is a little bonus incentive to try to win the match. And so I'm thinking that despite the niceties on Instagram, that when the 3, 2, 1 go hits, that we're going to see the fierce competitor come out in both of you.
But that's just like in training too. So the second you're doing the same Metcon as someone, you never want to lose.
No, and you in particular, Kelly, I'm not as familiar with your training environment, especially now that you're not doing the team stuff. But Kyra, like you train with your friends all the time, and
Yeah.
and people that you're not like going out of your way to make fun of. But it is that environment. Anytime you guys have the same Metcons, that as soon as you 3, 2, 1, go, it's game on.
Absolutely. And usually all of us won't listen to Kiefer, like stay in your own lane. And we'll all just go out really hot and it's dead bodies at the end of it.
Kelly, do you have any training partners like that currently?
So I recently lost my last. He moved back to Missouri, so I was excited for how his season ended up, but that was obviously a big bummer because we used to train together since our team kind of came together, and then over this last year. I'm still bouncing around. We have an athlete that is competing at the CrossFit Games this year, so I've been using her training as kind of some motivation to keep doing my stuff, but yeah, that's kind of what that looks like for me right now.
Do I know who the athlete is by any chance?
Abigail Moore.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. That's fun. What division is she in?
She is 16-17.
Mm-hmm.
Has she made it before?
She did 2 years ago. She went in 14-15, didn't go this past year. And then she has been working her butt off, and she is a strong cookie. I tell you, our coach doesn't let her even lift or squat very much. I think it had been like 3 months since the last time that she tested a squat clean, and then just like PR to 245 clean, like nothing.
Oh, wow.
That's why.
She sounds like the opposite of one of Kyra's training partners. Kendall
Yeah, so
Gilmore.
one of my main training partners, she's also going to the teen CrossFit Games, Kendall Gilmore. She's same age group. She is the fittest girl that I have ever seen. And all she gets to do is touch a barbell right now.
Yeah, fuse the two of them together, and they'd probably be at the games as an individual, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Doing that reps ahead, we did the full 5 rounds through, and she thought that I was mad at her because I was giving dirty looks during the workout, and I was like, it had nothing to do with you. I was just mad that it hurt so bad.
Well, you can use those same dirty looks towards Kyra when you're during those minute off.
I'll probably still ask. I'm like, are you mad at me? Are you okay?
It was, because the one you referenced with Fee and Alexis was the first one that I was live in person for. And it was cool to see kind of that MMA style where after the buzzer hits, if there wasn't a knockout, that they have to sit there and kind of face each other. Or they don't have to sit there. They could pace around or whatever. And I remember because that one was 7 rounds, less working time. Ooh. And then it was harder to get the reps ahead, I guess. But the facial expressions definitely change round by round, from smiles to, well, you know how it goes. And the other kind of unique part of this competition is that the guy who sponsors the whole thing has a big passion for giving back in a variety of different ways. And you guys spoke really positively about the organization New You Cares that supports these veterans. When Phil reached out, and I'm assuming this was part of some of the stuff that he explained to you guys.
Yep.
And is it like, I don't know how often, I don't usually have a lot of necessarily opportunities to be involved in something that's kind of that much bigger than myself, and giving back to such a big group of people that does so much for a massive group of people, a nation. Was that an added kind of a incentive or bonus in any way for your participation in this?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure we'd both agree. I went back and forth when he had originally asked me. Part of me was excited that I had another opportunity to compete. Part of me was like, why am I committing to something when I don't even know if I'm going to keep doing CrossFit? So those thoughts were going back and forth. But then when I could really take a step back and say, regardless of what happens, this is for such a bigger cause that's well beyond me. And if I can be a piece of that, even if I go and totally embarrass myself, so yeah, absolutely.
Kyra, anything to add there?
Same, right? It's bigger than both of us. Like, we get to go out there and have fun, have some fitness, compete alongside some amazing athletes. But like, my entire dad's side is veterans have served, and so it's just pretty unique experience for me too.
I didn't know that. That's really cool. At the last match, I think one of the guys that works on like the stat side of things, he did a comparison between all of the athletes who did the match, and the girls basically dominated all of the guys. Are you guys anticipating that again?
Absolutely.
Good. Perfect. I just wanted to make sure Nick could hear that since he signed in here a little bit early. What's up, Nick?
What's going on, guys?
Way to join us.
I feel like I'm late to the party.
You are late to the party.
You're actually early. You weren't supposed to be here for another few minutes, but
he didn't get to talk with us. He wasn't allowed to be with us.
I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
We were gonna allow a little bit of overlap, but once I saw that he signed in a little bit early, I just needed to set you up for that one, Kyra.
I would tell him to his face, I'm gonna beat him.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So now the trash talk comes out.
Yeah,
right.
with him for sure.
I was only prepared for James, not anybody else.
Kyra, Kelly, obviously both you guys competed on team last year, both with top 10 finishes. Was there any did you guys talk at all? Was there any prior relationship before this matchup? Or is this basically the first time you will actually meet each other in person?
I think this is the first time we'll actually meet each other. Like I don't really think we saw much of each other at the games, right? Like hi, smiles, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's so chaotic at the game. So even standing, a few feet away from each other, you're just kind of in your own zone, trying to figure out when you're supposed to be where and what needs to be warmed up and what equipment you need. So, I've heard good things about Kyra, but we haven't really had an opportunity to connect. So I had messaged her when I found out that she was going to be doing it. And I was like, if you need snacks or anything or equipment, I'm local.
That won my friendship right there. I was like, you can win. Just bring me snacks.
Nick did the same thing to James. Like, hey, if you need snacks, right?
Yeah, right.
You can die with everything else except snacks. So.
I'm not eating anything that Nick or James gives me.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Well, Kyra, you have an early morning on Friday, but looking forward to seeing you in the afternoon there. Kelly, obviously, you'll be at home, so it'll be nice for you to be able to stop by. But I'm pretty excited. I think that this match in particular is going to be a pretty fun one because we don't have a ton of information. With the team experience you guys have done, the lack of competing against each other, and two different very trajectories of the season, whether it's a good thing or bad thing to talk about. It's just how it is. So I think it's going to be a pretty fun match, and grateful for you guys accepting Phil's invitation, being a part of it, giving it a chance, and helping to support everything that Reps Ahead and New You Care stands for.
Thank you guys. See you this weekend.
Okay, have a good week. We'll see you on Friday.
Bye.
And then there was one. Where are you coming from or going to?
He's outside.
No, I'm just sitting in the car. Got people in working out in the affiliate. I'm taking down the rig and getting ready to build up our new place, and it's a little chaotic in there right now. So.
Oh, what's the transition?
Yeah, so we're currently in like a 3,000 square foot facility, and we're jumping to like a 10,000 square foot facility.
That's a big change.
Yep, our leases came up, so now we're just making a pretty big move, adding a lot more entities to the business, and we got to have it all done within a month now.
What is the name of the business?
It's right now we're CrossFit Minnetonka, but it's going to be switching to kind of like Tonka Fitness. We're still keeping the affiliation and stuff like that, but there's going to be more than just CrossFit going on in there. So. Yeah,
the affiliate that I coached at previously, anyone who talked about it would just call it PFT, which stands for Performance Factory Training, but it was affiliate CrossFit PFT, and I know of several affiliates around the world that they use the CrossFit probably for like the SEO Google search type thing.
Exactly.
But then they have the just like whatever their branded business or fitness industry is. That's maybe because sometimes for some people the word CrossFit can be off-putting, or it doesn't necessarily represent the totality of what your business does.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Sometimes there's a little intimidation factor for CrossFit. And we're just trying to eliminate the I have to get in shape to do CrossFit, because we're going to have that getting in shape aspect also in the gym too. So
how long have you been involved on the business side of CrossFit Minnetonka?
About 4 years. The gym's been around for 8. And then about 4 years ago, I sold the business that I had, which was like a smoothie bar and personal training studio. And then I jumped in to manage that right before COVID.
Smoothie bars making a comeback at Tonka Fitness?
Maybe some acai bowls too, and we got all kinds of ideas for sure.
Dude,
Nick, when we last spoke, you were actually in your car. I consider your car your office.
It is right now.
It is for now. But when we last spoke, you mentioned something about getting your level 2. Have you done that already, or is that scheduled?
I got my L2. Yep.
Congratulations.
Yep.
You passed? Nice.
Yep. And I figured with this extra free time I have this season, I might just go and take the test for the L3 too, just to figure something out. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I've been coaching for personal training and coaching for going on 12, 13 years now, and haven't really done too much outside of my original accolades for all that stuff. So figured, I mean, I do have some extra time, so might as well just bump that up a little bit too.
And it's an old adage of Glassman's. I can't remember the exact words, but basically, like, when you become you get to the end of the mastery, like, go back to the beginning and remaster the basics. Has there been an element of that from the coaching side?
Yes. I mean, so I had my own like training style and personal training, and then I got my L1, and that kind of brought me back to like foundations of CrossFit and like stuff like that too. And then same thing with the L2. It was just kind of, I've had my L1 for 4 years, and then getting my L2, they opened my eyes up to other things and just new knowledge and more things, and just stuff that I can take back and apply back to the gym and back to the members and coaching the other coaches. And yeah, there should be that continue growth regardless of the area that you're in. So
you have a big time fan here, by the way.
Hey, how's it going, Lynn?
You are amazing and so smart and knowledgeable. Your lifting form is so good, and I'm fangirling.
Thank you. Appreciate
it. Who were your L2 trainers? Do you recall, or who your small group trainer was?
Oh, that's terrible. I'm terrible. I can't remember.
Okay, that's fine.
There's a bald guy.
Gotcha.
I can't remember his name.
That's fine. Did that intimidate? I mean, a lot of people, like, I got my L2 as well, and a lot of people, there were some misconceptions about like the L2 it being smaller groups, and that it's almost like you're being graded by your peers. Were you intimidated at all when you were doing your points of performance, or you're doing your small group session of the L2?
I think more on like the technical wording side of things that they want us to use, I was a little bit more unfamiliar with, just because, I mean, when you're in your affiliate, I mean, things happen a certain way, you know what I mean? When you're trying to take the test and be perfect on like the verbiage and all that stuff, it's a little bit different. But in terms of the act of actually coaching in front of people, no, because I'd say I'm a relatively confident person. I coach 20 classes a week here at my affiliate as it is, almost maybe 15, something like that. But and I've been doing it for 13 years now, so 12 years now. So.
Well, you definitely have to be confident to wear crop tops, and Reps Ed says you have to wear one.
I got it right now.
All right, there we go.
Little nip on the show there.
Oh, there you go. Oh shoot, we just got demonetized. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, we got canceled there.
Wow, this has been great conversation so far. It's been like 5 minutes, but I've never asked you about the crop top. What was the origin of that?
Literally, my girlfriend and her friend just were in the gym. They had crop tops on, and they were twinning one day. They just matched. So me and the gym manager that I was at Timberwolf CrossFit, me and him had the same Timberwolf shirt, and it was like a 3/4 sleeve American flag, really out there crop top or Timberwolf shirt. It was just a 3/4 sleeve t-shirt. So then we decided to cut them and just make that our like crop top Tuesday. And then I ended up wearing it to my first regionals in 2018 and got some camera time because of it. And then after that, I just kept the same one, called it my lucky shirt. And kept it
and so you've been wearing crop tops at competitions since 2018.
Yep.
And what about in training? Like, is this like only for Instagram, or is that pretty much what you're comfortable wearing now?
I am very comfortable wearing it. Like, especially like with how hot it is, and we got like thrusters and muscle ups or something, you know, like the bars sliding off your shoulders, and I don't want to wear a t-shirt in the middle of summer here. Yeah, it's like built-in air conditioning.
So if you got an invite to go compete in Dubai where they don't allow crop tops, that'd be a tough adjustment.
Well, he did at the games.
Yeah, I'd have to negotiate a little bit.
Yeah, but they did. They made a new rule just for him at the games last year.
Yeah, they told me I couldn't wear it at the games last year.
Yeah, and he couldn't cut it. He couldn't alter the uniform.
Yep, it was really sad. That was the first thing they said. Not like, "Hey, welcome back" or anything. Right when we got there, it was like, "We need to talk."
No crop tops this year, okay?
No crop tops. Can't cut it. They said, I think their wording was the shirt had to go back to its original form at the end of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, "You guys gonna take my shirt back?" Like, I get Noble's out, but they want all their clothes back. I mean,
yeah.
So, I mean, you've already brought it up. It is a kind of a part of the theme of this version of the rep set competition. But you know, this season clearly didn't go as it was expected for you. We just had Kelly on, similar situation for her, and she said, quite frankly, it was difficult to deal with. How have you been, handling that in the last couple of months?
It was pretty difficult to deal with at first. I mean, there was a lot. I mean, I redid the workout because the first time I did it, I was like, yeah, my reps weren't I kind of shorted it a little bit, and I went back and viewed the video and then made that my mission on the second time was to fix the step ups. And I thought I did, but apparently not good enough, which it is what it is. Yeah, it was challenging at first to deal with it. It was like, cool. Like, I'm training for a whole year just to try to get through quarterfinals next year. Like, not even like, oh, I didn't qualify for the games at semifinals. It was literally the stage before where it's like, I could have taken 6 reps off a round and still qualified in the top 20 with all my scores. Right. Like, even with my penalty, like, if I would have shorted the standard more and got 6 more reps and that penalty still hit, I'd be still in. So, I mean, it's kind of lame, but
it's brutal, because once you reach the kind of the level that you've achieved in the sport, we talk to perennial semifinal athletes all the time that's the weekend. Like, there's no shortcuts. You have to perform on that weekend. Yeah. And now it's kind of like backed up to this point where there's a stage before that where this season there were only 80 total men in North America that got to advance. 10 years ago, that number was over 400. So the margins for error are a lot smaller in that stage of the season. And I actually foresaw that something like this happen. Like, I thought that this year there would be athletes, of course, at the semifinals that don't make the games, but possibly even games caliber athletes, multiple times games athletes that didn't make it to the semifinal because the spots were at such a premium. Didn't know who that would happen to. It ends up kind of happening. And then, I guess, what's the shift in mindset? Because the CrossFit Games is obviously the pinnacle competition in this sport right now, but there are tons of other competitions that exist and opportunities to compete. Did you start thinking about that quickly, or was it like, can't even think about that yet?
I didn't think about it quick. No, like, Reps Ahead came on, and so this was like a great opportunity to jump in and do this one, like, just to have something to work for, have something to train for again, and kind of get the mind right. Metcon Rush at the time, they're in Maryland. They sent me a message about going, and at first I was kind of like, whatever. I'm not gonna go compete right now. I'm not dealing with any of that. But then things started to unfold, and like Reps Ahead, and then like go to Maryland and do this Metcon Rush. My coach's wife, Matt Burke, his wife Nicole Burke, is competing as well. So I was like, well, fine, I'll go out with you guys and kind of have a fun weekend. And then a couple of guys from my gym came out and decided to do it too. So they're going to go now and
nice.
have some fun out there.
I was actually, I was talking with Tim from Metcon Rush earlier today, actually. Because I was pretty sure you were competing there, and I just wanted to verify that before you came on the show. I wish I was streaming that competition, honestly, because the roster's actually looking quite good, and one of your a fellow proven athlete, Luis Oscar Mora, is on that roster as well.
Yep. And Scott Tetlow, Jorge Fernandez.
Jorge withdrew actually just last
really?
day or two. Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on, but he wasn't on the roster that I was sent, and I asked him about it. So,
Gotcha.
but there's a couple of guys that he's still waiting to hear from. And then, he reached out to some people. He invited Colton. Colton had a family commitment that weekend, but I like that I've known Tim for a couple of years. He shifted his competition back to July this year, and he held some spots intentionally for athletes. I think similar to me, he was probably expecting to invite athletes of your caliber that didn't make the games, not that didn't make the semifinals.
Right.
But when that happened, I was like, hey man, invite these guys. You never know. So I'm happy that you took them up on it.
For sure. And it kind of opened my eyes too. Like there could be something with that even the games athletes that get bumped out by rookies that are going to semifinals, like still having something to train for and compete in, even if they didn't make the games, that's essentially worth it a little bit. And like, there's a cash prize that's worth it. My sponsors want to see me do it, and they're going to help with like pay and stuff like that too. So I think when there's opportunity like that, like look at Colton, you know what I mean? What's he going to train for? If there was a competition that wasn't on that weekend, obviously, like he could have came and done it too. And these can still be pretty stacked competitions and stuff. So
we thought about inviting him for this one against you.
Yeah. I had a hunch. I was like, it's going to be me and Mertens before Phil had said anything about James. I was like, it's going to be me and Colton again, just neck and neck, 4th and 5th place, 5th and 6th place.
Yeah, you guys definitely have a storied history, and it would have fit in with kind of the theme, the redemption theme, because you guys have had to exchange some blows over the years. But
for sure.
We did also want to have some different camps represented, and we'll kind of like the idea of having like 1 or 2 holdover athletes that have competed previously. So we have Malachi and James that are relatively local, got some new blood in the water. Have you gone back and watched either of the previous matches that James participated in?
Yeah, I watched one that had the hang squat snatches in it. Phil sent me that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, looks fun. Looks like a great time.
Have you tried to work out yet?
What was that?
Have you done the workout yet?
I did not do the workout. No.
Not yet? Okay.
GPP. Just
got
be ready. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
The fundamentals straight from the L1 -L2.
L2.
Now
I do all my programming too. Is like just be ready for anything.
That's exactly right. I when I'm in town here, I train at and coach at CrossFit Charlotte with Spencer Hendel's dad. Andy is the owner, and he's got this saying like, "Be hard to kill." They have very old school programming. He and Taylor Self have kind of shared the programming over the last couple of years, and it's it's that mentality. They get the grunt work. You go, you'll have the long run day. You'll have a heavy lifting day. You get everything in between. But they're keeping it kind of tried and true to the method that's been around for, somewhere between 20 and 50 years now, depending on how you measure it.
Yeah. And like obviously that's the foundations and the basics, and like there's all this other stuff that we do outside of just CrossFit, but it is good to just have that, just keep to the foundations. I mean, look at Fitness in 100 Words that Boz brought out when we were at the games, the pullovers and the freestanding handstand push-ups and all that stuff too. So like and I think that kind of helped me that year at the games with the crossovers, was like, cool, I just like to play with a jump rope. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just set to single unders and double unders.
It's funny you bring that up. The that skill actually made an appearance in the 2008 CrossFit documentary, Every Second Counts. Did you know that?
Really? I've watched the movie. I don't remember that part.
It's towards the back half of it. I think it's Matt Mursky in his garage training leading up to the competition. He's doing crossover single unders with the jump rope in his garage. And it's like that, that skill come out in the quarterfinals, the crossover single under. He might have been doing crossover doubles. I don't know. But either way, and everyone's like, what the hell is this? And it's like, well, it's been there. It's been right there for you to see if you study your history. And same thing with those other skills you mentioned that are in the prescription for what this whole thing is about.
For sure. And I really like it because it challenges the CrossFit athletes too, like almost picks some people out that can't do something, versus like everybody can do ring muscle ups. Everybody can do a legless rope climb. But now like you throw in seated legless rope climbs, now people are failing. Or legless pegboards or crossover jump ropes and stuff. I like the stuff that kind of pushes the capabilities of what we're able to do. not just intensity.
The part of the reps ahead for you guys is this kind of trash talk Instagram thing that Phil asked you to do. First of all, would you say that's in line with your character in general, or no?
Yes, the banter for sure.
Yeah,
100%. There's a lot of that here at the affiliate that we're at, for sure.
And what's your kind of competitive or not history with James Sprague in general?
I mean, we've competed at Wadapalooza a couple times. We've competed at the games a couple times. There hasn't been a ton of talking that I've actually done with him, here and there at the games. But yeah, not a ton of conversation.
PC, is it possible if I ask you in a minute or two to play that trailer again that you'll be able to do it?
I can try it.
Okay, well, you let me know when you're ready over there. We're gonna play it's the reps ahead trailer. I just want to I want to play it again, and then
I'm ready. I can do it now. All right.
Okay, let's see it. How does that make you feel watching that, Nick?
Get fired up.
The first time.
I mean, I don't know where. I don't even have some of those videos. I don't know how you guys got some of those videos of me. I'd like them too. But,
don't ask those
fired up.
questions.
I'm pumped. It's gonna be a lot of that at the end of the reps ahead event too. So
I love it.
After you knock James out and he's laying there on the floor, you mean?
For sure, exactly.
And you're gonna stand over him victorious.
Yeah, that'll be exactly it.
Nick, what obviously there's a win bonus. I mean, how much does that motivate you too? It's like, hey, I can gain an extra, $1,500 just by, beating this guy. I mean, is that appealing as well?
Well, I did the math, and if all goes well for this event and the Metcon Rush event, I'll make more in those two events than I did at the games last year. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
It is a relevant topic to talk about, because now you're a lot of athletes, regardless of whatever else is going on, their idea is to make it to the CrossFit Games, and there's clearly a lot of opportunities that come with doing that, but it's hard to make it there. It's getting harder in some regards and in some regions, and I also think that there's an increased opportunity for earning potential through competition. Clearly, there are CrossFit athletes that can make money in ways that are not related to competition through sponsorships or coaching or whatever else there might be. But have you noticed this? I mean, you've been doing this for a while, but have you noticed that there's some kind of unique and cool other opportunities outside of the game season emerging for athletes to make money? And how do you feel about it?
Yeah, from when I first started, there wasn't really I remember Matt Fraser talking about, I would just go to this competition on this weekend and win $5,000, or this one and win $2,000. I kept thinking to myself, I was like, where the hell are all these competitions? Obviously not in the Midwest anywhere. So, I mean, but yeah, definitely now they're way more relevant. I don't know if social media has a really big deal with that, or just the growth of the sport in general, but it does offer opportunity for, like I said, if somebody didn't make semifinals and they're still in good shape, go ahead and hit the Metcon Rush up, or hit one of these local competitions up that have a good prize purse. And at least you're still working for something, still keeps you in it. Competition is competition regardless. And that's you can fill a lot of holes competing, just being on the floor, not even workout related, just mindset wise and stuff too. So
whenever I think of, you kind of quote Fraser on that, or every time I think of that, I think of Happy Gilmore, where Happy Gilmore is going to all these small competitions, collecting all the big checks, just trying to, but Fraser isn't trying to buy his grandma's house back with his earnings, and he didn't have a caddy with one arm, but or one hand. But that's what I kind of picture whenever when I say that, and it seemed like in the past there were a lot more opportunities, and being someone in the Midwest, there used to be a lot of Midwest opportunities where it was the main was Granite Games, and that was kind of like taken away. But I think with the way the season's kind of ramping up, and that there are athletes who are looking for additional competitions, whether they're going to the games or not, I think there could be an opportunity for some of those competitions to come back.
I agree. I think Granite Games should come back, and that's even just from like a standpoint of being an affiliate owner and being like a coach and stuff. Like, one thing that I've done a lot recently that I haven't always been able to do in the past is I get to go and watch my members compete at some local things over the last few weeks. And I think Granite Games in particular for us here in the Midwest was amazing, because that gives somebody something all year to train for. Like, it's their games to go on a team of 3 male or team of 3 female, or you know, an indie of all levels, kind of like Wadapalooza, but up here. So yeah, if anybody's bringing Granite Games back, let's do it. Come on.
I think, you know, Granite Games, the guy's name is John something that ran it.
Swanson. He sold it to Loud and Live, I believe.
Yeah.
During the sanctionals kind of era, and then into semifinals, and Loud and Live still owns it, I think. So maybe there'll be a potential to bring it back. But when I started doing CrossFit, it was in the north suburbs of Chicago, and the guys that, you know, the better CrossFitters, the gym owner at that time, like, they were talking about Granite Games because like, you know, there's not those big competitions. Clydesdale's mentioning the Monster Games in Joplin, Missouri, is in the summer as well. It's a week before Metcon Rush, but yeah, there's not a ton of competitions there, and it's been interesting. I moved down here to Charlotte last year, and they have, you know, in South Carolina alone, they had like 4 intervals throughout the year. There's a Crash Crucible, which people have become more and more familiar with. Fittest of the Coast that I streamed in January this year. They'll be doing February next year. I just did Fittest of South Carolina this past weekend, and then they have Freedom Games in August, and all 4 of those are like legitimately good and challenging competitions for, you know, a variety of different divisions, but also high level athletes. It's just interesting where there's density of competitions in some parts of the U.S. and not so much in others. Yeah,
there's a few up here, but they're not for elite caliber, or, you know what I mean, they're kind of just local box throwdowns. Yeah. So
what is this? A Constance Fitness?
Yeah. Game Day. Hello, Constance. Yeah. Game Day was one of the ones that was up here that we just watched some of my affiliate members do. And I did that one actually, I think 3 years ago now, before I made it to the games, and won it. And they had a little cash prize purse. And yeah, now I wouldn't compete. So
when you know, you've kind of made some references to it. Maybe not everyone is aware, but like, you'd been on the fringes of qualifying for the CrossFit Games for a few years, 4 or 5 years before you finally did get the chance to compete there. And obviously, once you competed there, you know, you had some event wins, you had some great moments, you made a ton of fans. How much did things change for you because of that first Games qualification?
First Games qualification changed a lot, actually. I mean, from that win that I had with the skills medley, I think I went from like 3,000 followers to like 50,000 literally overnight, and it was absolutely nuts. Yeah. So like, between that and then after the Games was done, I'm good friends with Sydney Wells, so I reached out to her, and she put me in contact with Cooper and Zach to kind of get an agent and start responding to some of the deals that people would come in and ask me about, because I had absolutely no idea of how to handle any of that stuff. And now I'm with Chubbies, I'm with Carnivore, I'm with Toe Spacer, and I mean, all of them are right there in my bio, ESC Sounds, and they've really done a lot to allow me to cut back on my coaching hours so I can put more focus on training, and just kind of help organize my life a little bit more and not be so chaotic.
And I think that's a good representation of sort of the balance of it. There are opportunities to compete in the off season to make some money. You know, you mentioned that even in potentially 2 competitions this summer, you could earn more than you actually earned in terms of competition earnings at the Games last year. But the way that having some success at the CrossFit Games can translate to other opportunities is like, it's a little bit harder to measure on paper, but that is still significant.
Yeah, for sure. That's what's carrying over year to year versus just the Games is in the moment. unless you win it, like.
Right. And obviously, you know, there's an exposure element, like you said. You're not going to you know go to Metcon Rush and win an event, no matter how impressive it is, and have that kind of a change in terms of the people that are aware of you.
For sure.
Well, I think that's what Reps Ahead does a really good job with, obviously with the broadcast, and you know, I think that's one thing. B.Friendly, what we're trying to do is broadcasting some of these events, so it gives athletes another chance to, you know, showcase themselves, showcase their sponsors, you know, hit commitments and stuff like that. So I think that's really important. I think Reps Ahead is a perfect example of that, where, you know, you get to take care of some of those obligations, both personally as an athlete and also for your obligations towards your sponsors and partners.
Yep, exactly.
Who was the first person to throw the idea of Big Nick Energy out there?
Just some of the people in my affiliate. We also have one of the guys in the affiliate saved a Instagram handle, Crop Top Nick, just in case I ever want to change it too. So
Nice.
We got a great support system here. I got some amazing friends, amazing people that I work with, the gym owner. Yeah, we got a great support squad out here.
Damn. Well, maybe after, who knows? Maybe after you guys move into the 10,000 facility, we'll bring a Reps Ahead up to you.
Hey, 100%. I'd be definitely down for that.
I don't think we'd have a hard time getting a good crowd on hand based on what you've been talking about.
Yeah, no, we would have a lot of people there for sure.
Flying in on Friday like the rest of us, I take it?
No, I'm actually going Thursday.
Oh.
Yeah, the girlfriend wanted to see Denver since it's the first time, so we talked about going a day earlier.
I like that. I mean, it's clearly when you're a professional in a sport and you can travel to compete, there's opportunities to see different parts of the country or the world even. It's not always possible to stay an extra day or to you know, come an extra day early. But I think for athletes, media, whoever it is, when you get a chance to do that, it is really nice.
Yeah, that's been literally all our vacations over the last like 6 years has been when I'm traveling. Like we've been to Ireland and Miami and UK, and then after the UK we went to Italy for a week, and we've had a lot of the opportunity to be able to do
that. That's Dylan Nolan. that's what he's been doing. Just traveling with Ariel. Like she's working, I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
What part of Italy do you guys go to?
Went to Rome.
Nice.
Classic. But yeah, we were in UK for the whole Fit Fest. We went to Birmingham for the Fit Fest. We were in UK for a week before that, and then we went to Italy for a week after. It was a long trip.
Yeah, that's a cool trip though. And I think Italy is an amazing place to go, obviously, and it's good to see the history and get some of that experience. But if you ever go back with your girlfriend, I would recommend Tuscany. It's very romantic. It's a totally different feel. You're in the countryside, drink some wine, and enjoy some different kind of history there.
For sure. Yeah.
The next one.
Note taken. Yep. If we go to Fit Fest again next year.
I think they're planning to. They've put dates up on their Instagram, but I haven't really heard anything else about what's going on over there. But I think they do have the intention of doing it again.
Yeah, that'll be good. They really liked it up there. It was a hit out there for sure. So many.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, I think I have 6 or 7 international trips this year and multiple stops every time I go across the Atlantic over there. I'm like you. If I'm going over there, I'm going to make it at least 2 weeks of a trip out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can stack up competitions, but it's pretty much unanimous everywhere that I go internationally. Like there's a big contingency of people that will show up to watch competitive fitness.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely.
All right, Nick. Well, we asked you for 30 minutes. You came a little early, so we got you for a couple extra. Patrick's coming on Thursday. I'll be there on Friday. Looking forward to seeing you, hanging out a little bit, maybe doing some training, and watching you whoop up on the young Sprague.
Yeah, young buck. Gonna take him out.
Hey, Nick. I'm emceeing. How do you want me to introduce? You know how like UFCs they have nicknames. Obviously, you have quite a few. So, Big Nick.
You go Big Nick or Crop Top Nick. I don't care any of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll use all of them. Because I'm going to ask every athlete, you know, like what nickname should I come out with for them? You know, if they don't have one, I'll make up one on the fly. But you're pretty easy. You and Kyra already have.
I don't care. That's fine.
Yeah, you and Kyra have very built-in nicknames, so it's pretty simple. So, but yeah, that should be pretty easy then.
Yeah, I'm pumped. It's gonna be a great event.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, man. Well, enjoy the week. Safe travels. We'll see you in Denver at the end of the week.
Sounds good. We'll see you in a couple days.
Yep. Later, Nick.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.
That's the first of 3 podcasts we'll have this week with athletes from Reps Ahead, Kelly Stone and Kyra Milligan, and then Nick Mathew joining us there. Tomorrow we'll have Malachi Bennett and Jake Marconi, which will be very fun, different way, maybe lesser known athletes, especially Jake hasn't really been competing at all. And then Thursday, Nick's opponent, James, will be on the show. And then Sydney Wells and Paige Powers will wrap it up for us. They're also going to wrap up the competition on Saturday in Denver.
Yeah. It was pretty, yeah. I'm trying to effort someone for Wednesday, not related to Reps Ahead, just to keep going with the getting all our getting as many athletes as possible. I don't know, but if we don't, it looks like, obviously Clydesdale has been doing a great job. He did a interview with Abby Domet yesterday, so if you get a chance, go watch that. And of course, Dave Castro unveiled his new series, I guess. And me and
who's going to talk to more CrossFit athletes between now and the games, us or Dave Castro?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I talked to a couple athletes, and some of them said they don't really want to talk to Dave, not even for like 5 minutes. So, yeah, Clydesdale says, well, I mean, I think between us and Clydesdale, we are ahead of Dave. And I don't think, unless he does I don't think the math's right. He'll have to do like 3 athletes every day.
Wow, dude. I mean, most of the time we have an athlete on, it's on their own for 90 minutes ish. And if Dave's doing 10 minutes, he could be 9 times as efficient as us in terms of if he just wants to check them off the list. I think it's a cool format, especially if they get to ask him things. I haven't had a chance to watch one of the Brook yet, but I'm expecting if that actually happens, that at some point someone asks him something and he just goes, next question.
Yeah. The typical Dave answer. But
HRCBD, what's on the line at Reps Ahead? They have a guaranteed prize or paycheck basically for competing, and then there's a winning winner's bonus. I guess it's a winner's bonus. You win your match. You get in. There's an additional cash incentive for winning the match.
Yeah. So and that's something new. The winning bonus is something new compared to the last one, and there's just so many ways you can do this. I know we've talked to Phil and some of the other people, maybe even having like a performance of the night or knockout of the night, something similar to the UFC, but that's something in the future. This is something that Phil and Michael and the guys who came up with this, it's ever evolving, has so many possibilities. You're just seeing, it's so funny because when you talk to Phil, he always talks about sequence when he talks about events, but I think Reps Ahead itself is like a sequence where it's constantly improving every time there's a Reps Ahead. So, the next Reps Ahead that we see, hopefully, after the games, you'll see some new features or possibly some new features. But what do you think about? I mean, I do like the concept of Dave, interviewing athletes. I think I have no problem with that at all. What do you think the idea of him doing it on his own page versus, say, the CrossFit Games or any of the CrossFit pages?
I suppose it's similar to the, maybe it's different than the week in review, because the week in review, he does talk about a lot of CrossFit related content, but he also will talk about everything in his life, from reading the Bible to going on some rucks to what's going on at the ranch to, trips for the Army, the integration that he has with the Army, some training stuff. So he hits on a lot of different things. This seems like it's very specifically for the CrossFit Games. And I feel like, I have no idea how their marketing team works, how their media team integrates with the games team or anything like that in terms of the back end stuff. But it feels like if the guy who's not just the director of the sport, but also the creator of the sport is opening up an opportunity for the best athletes this year to have a chance to communicate with him directly and put it on a live platform, that it should probably be on the CrossFit Games platform. Like, that just makes sense to me logically thinking, but haven't asked him or anyone else over there obviously about what the thought process is there. Clydesdale says, I still feel that it's a conflict of interest if the programming isn't locked in. This isn't actually a great comment and an interesting thought. I have said this frequently. It's not meant to be necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's just how Dave has generally operated, is that he usually basically like blocks himself off or mostly tunes out the sport. Like he doesn't pay attention to a majority of the athletes. He doesn't pay attention to off-season competitions. And I think that on the one hand, there's some lessons maybe that you could learn. You know, I learn a ton of things when I go on these trips and watch all these competitions and ask questions and talk to competition organizers, programmers, coaches, athletes, etc., and get these feedback. And then I'll watch something happen at the games and I'll be like, ooh, I've already seen someone try that and it didn't work very well. There's actually a really like similar nuance that you could do differently that's probably going to yield the result that you want. But if you're, you know, we're only talking about Dave. If you're Dave Castro and you're not paying attention to any of that stuff, then you don't have the opportunity to learn from their mistakes. On the other side of the coin is that if he silos them off, then that really does put him in a position to not have the problem that Clydesdale is bringing up right there, which is to be influenced by anything else other than the original ideas that are in his mind about how the sport needs to progress. Or maybe look back, or just generally speaking, how he wants to test the athletes this year. So there's definitely a give and take to that. I personally think that the optimal scenario would be that Dave continues to operate the way he always has, which is to kind of ignore and stay really focused, but that he leans on a consultant of sorts who's totally the opposite. Someone who is out there that's doing all these things, that has these touch points, doesn't really know what's going on, but behind the curtain, and that maybe the balance of those two things could yield the kind of the optimal scenario.
I like that take. So the review for, if you want to get caught up on reps ahead, we do have Brian wrote a review of all the matchups. It's up on our website, BeFriendlyFitness.com. And Reps Ahead Pro 3 Redemption Preview gives you the workout, some of the history behind it, some links to the previous Reps Ahead Pro 1 and 2. If you want to watch those on YouTube, get an idea what's in MBS CrossFit. And then you broke it down. There's 2 community matches where you actually give a pretty good, these are local athletes from the Denver area, and some of them who've competed in Reps Ahead, some of the community Reps Ahead prior. So you do give a little kind of review of them. And then right into the undercard match, Jake Marconi and Malachi, who we'll have on tomorrow, I believe. Yeah, tomorrow. And gets into their history a little bit. And then obviously the 3 main card matches. So there's links to all their the athletes' Instagram as well. And then I think at the bottom, and then of course we have our podcast schedule for the week regarding Reps Ahead. So
yeah,
go ahead and take the
put that one together last night. It was the last athletes confirmed were the community match athletes, the local athletes, but they're actually, like I think I mentioned when Kelly and Kyra were on, they're actually really good. Like they're top couple hundred in their region. One of the guys is a Masters athlete this year, but and it's fun to be able to see. It's a little bit more relatable. They're still a lot better than almost everyone that's watching. And then you see the transition as we get towards the past games athletes and current games athletes.
Yeah, it was funny because we're talking there. It's like with Reps Ahead, since we've been involved with them, I was thinking about matchups, and Kelly Stone brought up her teen athlete she's training, and then obviously Kiefer has a teen athlete. I would love to see. We have a 19-year-old here, but it'd be kind of a cool to maybe have him in the undercard of some of these teen athletes. And I know we've discussed some possible matchups, but it's always cool when you hear something like that about 2 teen athletes who are preparing themselves for the Pit Fitness. So it's kind of neat. There's one other thing I wanted to kind of get before we go, your thoughts on is like Spin broke this kind of released this today. It's we have our first team.
Oh, Phil said, "Pressure, who might make that happen." Phil is listening. Yes, go ahead.
Well, was that like me? Like he wants me to do like me and you?
No, you against a teenage athlete to kick your ass.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. No, unless there's deadlifts, heavy deadlifts. That's it. So Spin put out this article. It always seems like every year it revolves either around whether drug testing or or
visa issues.
In this case, visa issues, where a team can't make it to the games. And, KT CrossFit Kolesnikov, who I got to see compete in Korea, they won't be there this year, which is a shame because they're a pretty good team. I mean, they have potential to be a top 25 team, if not maybe a top 20 if everything works out. Very experienced team, but they unfortunately this year.
Remember, there's only 30 this year.
Oh yeah, so yeah, but they have potential to be at least a top 20 from what I saw. Then.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've seen all of these athletes compete in the off season, and some of the traveling I've done. Camilla at semifinals last year as an individual, the others, at the games, and yeah, it is a good team. And if you look back at that semifinal, they took 4 first place and a second, and the team right behind them took 4 second place and a first. So it's like those 2 teams and then everybody else. And the fact that they're not going to be able to compete, and it is, June 24th, which means we're still about 6-7 weeks away from the games. I'm hopeful that at least the second place team over there will get invited and have potentially the opportunity to come. It would be a bummer to not. It's always a bummer if we don't have representation. Like we go out of our way to make sure that there's representation from every competitive region around the world, that they get at least one man, woman, and team to compete there. This is the only team that was slated to compete, and they're not going to be there. There's another team that was, clearly the next best team there. And I hope that they get invited. I hope that they can come, because it would, like you said, it would be a bummer to not. It's always just like at the championship caliber event of any stage, it's like you don't want to have empty lanes. You don't want to have empty, like you want to have a full field. And obviously, if you can have a representative from Asia, we would like to have one.
Yeah, especially like I got to watch that second team, Marvel Black. They were a team that competed last year. It's the same team, I believe. I believe everyone there returned for this team, and they actually beat the KT team in one of the events, and they were pretty close. KT did win 4 of the 5 events, but obviously it's Marvel and then everyone else after that. But also, that team, besides Carlos, who is married to a Korean, it's made up by Koreans. It's a community that he built together. Carlos has left the active military. He's out now in the reservist, but he's staying in Korea to run his affiliate. He's actually part of the seminar staff for Asia now. So, with Korea being such a boom, and we're talking over 400 affiliates in Korea itself, 250 just in Seoul. It'd be a shame not to extend that invitation. You have plenty of time. I remember I talked to Carlos after that, and I told him, hey, just be ready. And he goes, oh yeah, definitely. That they're still training. So it'd be nice again to have that representation. It's a shame for the KT team, but again, look.
Does he talk about the fact in their article that they didn't have any alternates?
Yes, they didn't have any alternates. There was just 4, and it's like you kind of have to know that.
Oh, we've seen it before. I mean, with Zach George's team last year out of the UK, is the most kind of recent relevant comparison. Is if you don't, like, the alternates exist for a reason. It's not the reason the alternates is an option for that CrossFit allows for the teams is not for people to game the system. It's in the case of something not going well, whether it's a visa, it's an injury, it's an illness, whatever, that there's an alternate, there's another option that's available. And from the beginning of this season, this team only listed these 4 athletes, and so and then they're not the only team that's qualified for the games that has done that. And those teams are just, quite frankly, running the risk of something unfortunate happening. Obviously, you never want that to happen. You don't project that to happen, but there is a kind of a quote unquote fail safe that CrossFit has allowed for these affiliates or these teams that, this team and several others have not necessarily taken advantage of. We saw the opposite happen with another team from the UK last year, Sapphire Kedard and Dan Ty's team. Sapphire hurt herself. She wasn't able to compete. They had this woman step in as an alternate, and they ended up squeaking the last spot to the games anyway. And it was like this really, really cool kind of redemption story.
Yeah, I just think it's a shame that they didn't have anyone, especially knowing that this is, according to Spin's article, he applied 3 times. And so this is something where he was denied earlier than this, So, it takes a while for you to get your denial. So this is something that's probably been working on for the last year at least. but for them not to have someone, and putting it by
right, and
chance,
that's kind of like a training program. It'd be like mayhem not having an alternate. Like they should have athletes available.
Yeah, and they normally do. I mean, hell,
in years past, I didn't know which athletes they were actually going to select for their team. It was almost like they had like they would qualify, but then they would go back and train, and then they would make the selections as in between the semifinals and the games. And this is just a different makeup this year.
Yeah, I believe last year that Mayhem team, for instance, the alternates for the Mayhem team that Kyra was on was Rich Froning and Bailey Rail. So
yeah, it probably was.
I believe so. So I mean, just think about it. I mean, you obviously you don't want anything to happen, but I guarantee if something would happen, Rich would have stepped up. Not whether it be for Sam or Angelo, but
yeah, there was I think he wouldn't have consented to be an alternate on the team if in the case that one of them couldn't compete for a legitimate reason. Yeah, he wasn't willing to do it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame for the KT team. They're really, we've gotten to know these athletes pretty well. I mean, I've got to know them when they're an underdogs trained team. They were planning on coming with oh God, who's the other
Tommy?
No, the Russian, the individual.
Oh, Ivan Kartsev.
Ivan. Yeah, Ivan. Yeah. They were planning on all of them were planning on traveling together to Vegas to train. So this is very unfortunate. But yeah, they're coached by Tommy Hackenbrook as well. So it's just unfortunate. But hopefully CrossFit will extend that invitation to CrossFit Marvel Black. So there is representation, especially one from a country like Korea, and they've earned that. I mean, they finished second. They should be. There's plenty of time to book those flights and get everything taken care of. So. But besides that, that's kind of like what's been going on. But yeah, like Brian said, tomorrow we will have Malachi and Jake Marconi on, which should be fun. Again, well, at least Malachi, that'll be fun. I don't know about Jake having him on, but I guess we do have to complete the HWPO coach bingo card. So, besides that, that's all we got.
Cool. Well, thank you to Kelly and Kyra. Thank you to Nick for taking the time. Excited to see all them compete this weekend. Thank you to HGR CBD for supporting the podcast and the show. If you guys haven't had a chance to check any of their stuff out now, highly encourage it. Especially if you're training hard and looking to recover well, they have some of the best stuff on the market. So, yeah. With tomorrow, we'll touch on some other topics. Maybe talk about the competition I was at this last weekend and some other stuff. But I think that'll do it for today. And go train and coach tonight. Get back into a good training week before heading out to Denver.
Yeah. That's kind of why I wore the shirt. It's a shout out to my, it's got the mountains in it, and it's kind of where I'm at in terms of training. Shout out to my boy Murph. This was something that he started. But anyways, yeah, him, Jacob Pfaff, and it was something they started, the Fat Boy Gang. So, but yeah, before we'll leave you with the trailer once again, only to get Brian all pumped up for his for working out this afternoon. So thanks again as always, and be friendly, our friends.